Hey,
This
hi again,
conference will
Rochelle.
now be recorded.
Hi again, Rochelle. Good to meet you again.
Hello. Now we're seeing each other from across the pond when last time we were sitting next to each other in London.
That's right, yes. But I think we still have a cup of tea in our hand like we did last time out. What are you drinking today?
So today I have my wonderful Sherlock Holmes mug, as you can see,
Oh, yes,
and
Baker Street,
one of
London. Yes.
well, yes, 221B. And I like these teas called yogi tea. I'm having Egyptian mint, but one of the reasons I like them is because on each tea bag they have a little saying. So
Ah,
today's saying is use your head to lift with heart.
that's a good one. And each tea bag is unique, is it, with a different saying?
Yeah, so each day I've got another little proverb. It's kind of like when we used to, in the old days, when you used to have to tear the calendar off and you get a different saying of the day. Now I do it with tea.
Wow, that's good. My theme is similar, so I've also got a mug with a bit of a London theme here. It's the Beatles of Abbey Road, where I know we both spent some time. And what I'm drinking today is quite a nice fragrance. It's lemon, ginger, and ginseng
Ah,
infusion. And
so you're both zesty, smart, and good for your brain cells.
there's three different tastes going on at once, I think. Yes, so that's good. Well, I know on this chat, Rochelle, we agreed we'd like to talk a little bit about shared services, where there's kind of two different starting points. One is where you have a relationship between a customer who's receiving the services of the shared services, who often sees shared services as a supplier. So in that sense, you get into this customer supplier syndrome with service level agreements and compliance, versus the other approach that we've seen some organizations take, which is something that could happen either at the beginning or something that could occur over time, where you get into a true partnership, around how are we going to deliver to our end customer, which is the business and all the stakeholders in the business. What's been your experience with those two approaches, Rochelle?
I think as shared services has evolved, and certainly back from as I ran many shared services organizations before coming to SSON, traditionally people started in that provider relationship because a lot of
Mm,
the work that was brought into shared services was very transactional. It was very much, it's a term I don't like, but people refer to as back office work. And therefore, they did think of it as provider, no different than folks think of BPOs and other organizations that you might outsource part of your work to, tax
yes.
providers, things like that. I think what I have seen across the years, and you're really seeing this right now, is that as the shared services team has proven itself, as they've delivered reliably, if they have enhanced controls, as they have indicated how much they can add productivity and efficiency, now they're upping the game to be able to say, what else can we do? And that's really that we have the capabilities to bring in knowledge-based work. Um,
Yeah.
that's partially also right now. Of course, we're seeing that heavily with automation, enabling people to take away the need for a lot of that transactional work. That's being automated, and now the centers are being able to take on knowledge-based work. But it starts with that foundation of a relationship. It really starts with you have to prove yourself and have become a trusted partner for to move past being a provider. I think that's the one key that I would hit on there, and I'm sure that you have some comments to add as well.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point because, as we've both seen, it's a journey, and the business evolves on that journey, and you build trust, you build a relationship, and where I've seen it work best is where, at the starting point, before you even set up your shared services, you really have a stakeholder engagement approach where
Mm-hmm.
all the various stakeholders across the functions, across the business, even looking at the external stakeholders, have a bit of an input into the design. What's this going to deliver? What's it going to look like? What are we going to expect? And together you build your agreements around how the service centre will operate and how it will do business. And I think that sort of collaboration has had the benefit of breaking through what some of the early adopters did, which is, as you say, we're going to move this low-level transaction work out. However, we're really watching you guys to make sure that you can do it as well as we used to do it when we did it in our own office. So that sort of adversarial approach, is now replacing with this begin with the end in mind approach, where everyone's working together to deliver something which is really going to be in the best interests of all. So yeah, definitely agree with that viewpoint there. And then, of course, when it gets to the point where you've got trust, you've got a good operating level, you're meeting customer expectations, you're providing customer excellence, it then raises the next part, which is how do we build on that, and how do we grow that even further, and what extra added value can we gain from this effective working relationship. And I'd be interested to hear what your some examples of where you've seen that added value work coming into shared services centres, and then I'll share some of my thoughts as well.
Sure. I think one of the key areas, and I know that you agree with this as well, is that data analytics is a big one. In nearly every element of shared services, whether it's HR, whether it's supply chain, procurement, finance, whatever area, generally speaking, shared services either manages, owns, or both the largest data domains in the entire organization. All of the employee master, all of the vendor masters, all of the supplier agreements are either owned or managed by them. So it's a ripe opportunity to then dig into the data analytics, and I think that does several things. Once you get past pure reporting, so it's a little bit of what we were talking about, is delivering on the KPIs and those types of things, you now can provide insights to the business that they can't see for themselves. They might only see their own individual business unit. They may only see their own individual division, those types of things. But shared services has the unique opportunity to see across the entire enterprise. So that does a few things. That gives the knowledge-based skills that they at a level that the businesses themselves can't see, the perspective. But also, this is how you prove yourself that you understand the business much better. So this is where, if you want to become a partner instead of a provider, you can begin to indicate that I've looked at analytics and I see these things. There's things that you can look at from a prescriptive, from a predictive, from a forecasting perspective, and say, this is where this work could change, or we can take on this work because we already do this piece and we understand this other part. So recruiting is a great example. I know you have several things to go in to there. Before, it was more about, a management of number of applicants and those types of things. But shared services, if you use that example, knows the entire ecosystem, the entire end-to-end process. They know onboarding, they know how to get security, they work with IT, they work with facilities and all these other groups, and they can understand by looking at that whole value chain where the bottlenecks are, from the point that you have a requisition to the point that someone is skillfully in a seat, onboarded, and actually has the accesses that he or she needs to be able to do the job. So I think that view and that perspective that data analytics can bring opens up the door to showing the knowledge-based work that you can do, but also opens up the door that you understand the customer's business. You have the data to be able to do the analysis, to be able to share those kind of insights, that this particular division has these kind of peaks at certain times, that when this division is a little bit slower or something else is going on, there's resources that could be used in a different area. It's a view that most people don't ever have, and if harnessed correctly, that alone, those levels of insights, that a part of that kind of predictive type of analytics is something that is a knowledge-based skill itself, and it will also help shine the light on work that you could take on in your shared services center.
Yeah, fully agree with that, Rochelle. I think, as you say, when you have that end-to-end view, that global view, you can see those patterns. You can help to move from reporting to analyzing those reports to diagnosing trends to doing predictive work, such as workforce planning, and those kind of insights then take you into a different agenda where you can be proactive, you can share with the business, you can lead thought with the business. So yeah, that data analytics through to diagnostics and people data as a provider expert service, I think is a good example. And you touched on recruitment. I've seen good examples where initially in the center you set up some transactional activity to support recruitment in the organization, such as supporting the applicant tracking system, scheduling interviews, producing offers and contracts, and setting people up in the system as employees. And that can soon move towards getting involved in the actual selection process through developing good screening diagnostics, through to being able to offer a virtual HR service. And I've seen good examples where people have started out in a transactional shared services role and become a recruitment specialist for a certain area of the business, particularly given the technology that we have now, where, like you and I having discussions, you can do interviews quite easily online rather than the traditional need to be face to face in every occasion. So that's been another good trend. And I think one of the other areas that I've seen is that as centres build standardization around their processes, they can then take it to the next level using Lean Six Sigma methodologies to be the operational excellence leaders for that organization, in continuously looking at how do we improve our process flow and our data accuracy, and how we leverage AI and automation to make those A to Z processes even more effective. And that's something that can emerge from the centre, because let's not forget, I mean, at the starting point, we hire people into the centre, often people that are well educated with multi-language skills, and as they want to grow their career, we can grow that organically from the centre based on those examples we've just described around. You can start managing data, and you can move to people data diagnostics and forecasting. You can start from doing recruitment transactions, and you can move to being an internal headhunter and a recruitment specialist. And that's what keeps people interested. That's what keeps people retained and motivated. And I think we've both seen some great examples where proactive organizations have really aimed to grow talent organically from within, rather than knee-jerk thinking, well, I need a center of expertise, therefore I need to hire somebody who's senior from another organization, and I'm not going to place them in the center. So different ways of looking at this, but some good examples I think we've both noticed.
Yeah, certainly. I have a saying that I use a lot in a number of the roundtables, that this is now their opportunity, where Susie, Sally, or Johnny came in as an AP clerk and now is a cash flow specialist. And that all lies both with automation, both with the career development opportunity, but also, really a lot in the data analytics, because if I used to understand the keying of the transactions and how they flow and how they work and how to put it into your ERP system, I'm now the best person to be able to say, where else can we drive more cash? What will managing payments 2 days differently help me better understand how to put more DSO, DPO, and enterprise level externally reported metrics that is cared about at the board and the CFO level. So think about that as an enhancement as a career. And that all stems back to the start of our discussion about when I was a provider, I was only seeing myself as somebody with a limited career and viewed as somebody that was in a factory, a team, type place, or a, recruiting factory of just the number of volumes of applicants, or whichever area of the business you're talking about. But now that I'm looked at it as a partner, someone who's relied upon for the enterprise business to be able to grow, to be able to be agile, to be able to open into new markets quickly, all those terms that we're starting to hear in shared services now that we never heard before is really evidence. And also when people say, well, what's a metric that you've become a partner? When somebody, initiates that I want to give more work to you, when they invite you into discussions when you're talking about strategy and we're going to go in this new direction, and as a result, we need to change our talent strategy, how can you help us do that? When those kind of conversations start going on, that's the best metric that I have become a partner, rather than, and I'm viewed that way in the organization, I'm valued that way in the organization. And when your team starts seeing that, that certainly raises their bar on this is where I do want to organically grow my career, and those opportunities are there now.
Absolutely. I think you've sort of nailed it on the head there in terms of that's the shift, isn't it, to partnership, where the business sees the centre as a place where value-added activities take place, where the individuals in that centre, be it finance, HR, IT, or indeed global business services across all the functions, where they see they can grow their skills and grow their career, and where they can anticipate and be proactive in reaching out with solutions. That's when you know you've fully leveraged this new way of working.
Absolutely. And both you and I have seen some great examples recently. I've been working with a couple of groups, one in particular, that the other exciting piece is with the automation element to this. When people start seeing that the automation is being put into the shared services center, this group is an HR group, and they're actually doing retina scan for time recording, so no more time and reporting, completely accurate, gets all the security elements and those types of things in there. They're doing so much AI in terms of patterns to be able to predictively say, we expect this amount of attrition in this area, and that 60% of the attrition is all with this level of manager or these type of people who've only been with the organization these types of years. So getting ahead of how do you help with that talent curve. But the other piece about this, when I was having a conversation with the person who leads this group, he was saying, people can't wait to come into our group because we're using, the virtual reality glasses, we're using retina scanning, we're using fingerprinting, we're using, all kinds of modeling and all kinds of data science types of things. And I sat down recently at our Latin America event. I went out and visited the Merck team, and they've created a whole citizen science developers. These are people who used to be AP clerks. The one guy, he used to be in charge of vendor master, and now they're citizen science, they're citizen developers. And so they're data scientists, I should say, that are citizen developers. And so they're super excited. They're in Costa Rica, and they're like, we went to university, we learned these things. We never really thought of starting a career here that this would be, but this is where the technology is being put in. So it's a whole new element that's been added to shared services, that automation piece, because you're going to attract another bit of talent that has interest and skills in that, and thinking about the fact that they can put that in not just for their department, but for something that would touch every employee, every vendor, every a candidate in the entire organization. That is one of the unique things that we have to offer in shared services.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's the place to be, and the place to grow your career. And as you mentioned, particularly to leverage technology. There used to be a saying that we go to work to use old technology, but the people coming into our centres today, they've grown up, with that technology, and they bring that into the organisation, and they can leverage AI and all of those recognition methodologies at a very advanced rate. So they very soon become the experts, they become the thought leaders, and you move away from this sort of vision of shared services as a purely tactical work area, to one of operational excellence, to one of transformation, to one of actually leadership in some of these areas of technology and data, and some of those other processes we've mentioned. So exciting times, and I think it's something that's really going to develop with a faster pace, actually, as we move forward in the next few years.
Absolutely. And a great window for us for our next tea time chat. And I want to tell everyone, as they're working through all of these interesting challenges and amazing opportunities, bring a little bit of my British back in here. There we go.
Oh, there we go.
Keep calm, carry on, and keep shared services going. And we look forward to seeing you on the next tea time.
Yes, indeed. It's been great having a tea with you. Cheers. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.
This conference will now be recorded.